Today we will be painting a simple landscape, and the reference image for this is taken. This image is taken from Painting References Facebook page. I am thankful to Painting References page for providing such wonderful and inspiring reference images for artists. So this has a lot of elements, a lot of the gods and a lot of shadows and trees, etc. But we will try to make it very simple. We will try to suggest the things, and we will not go for much of complicated drawing today. When we draw this, we will be drawing this kind of the horizontal line kind of thing. I mean the horizon line kind of thing. Then some distance stuff, and here we will suggest some bushes and some trees, etc., and the shadows, right? So we will try to make it resembling to this scene, but we will not be paying too much attention to the exact shapes and the exact placement also, etc. Basically our work will be inspired by this, may not be an exact replica of this, right? Okay, now going to the drawing part. So this page, this watercolor sheet is a quarter sheet, which is 15 inch by 11 inch, and this is Maestria brand 300 GSM watercolor paper. Okay, so if you really look at it, is this particular line, the horizon line kind of thing is slightly above the half. If you take this much as the half, maybe somewhere here you will find the horizon line kind of thing, and you have some distant foliages here and some mountains kind of thing here. Okay, not very pronounced, and somewhere if you look at maybe 1/4 of from somewhere here, you will have some kind of some horizontal line you will find, not exactly horizontal if you look at, and there is some kind of a fence sort of thing which is extending to more than half from the left, in fact. So somewhere up to here it goes, and there is a kind of some fencing or something. Okay, so and this particular area is seems to be little slanted. Okay. And this goes little like this, and exactly at the corner, around the corner, you have some trees which is crossing the sky. Okay, so some suggestion we'll make here. Okay, and there are some other trees here. We'll not make exact copy as I was telling earlier, but we'll still try to keep the identity as far as possible. Okay, and there are some foliages here, and there is some big tree coming from the out of the frame, and it is coming, and it is kind of there are some branches extra here, which we will define better with the paint. Okay, now there are a lot of shadows falling here. Okay, and here comes a lot of fields in perspective, so you will find some thin lines coming here, and I think that's it. And a lot of gods are there which we will suggest using paint. We will not be exactly drawing them, it will be very difficult, right? Okay, now we'll go for the painting process. Coming to my palette, if you may be already familiar if you have seen my previous videos sessions. This is cerulean blue. Ultramarine blue, it's very dry, I may not use it. Cobalt blue, mauve, violet, sap green, olive green, burnt umber, raw umber, burnt sienna. This is crimson lake, I might have to fill it. Orange, permanent yellow, Indian yellow, yellow ochre, and this is raw sienna, vermilion red. This is Prussian blue. Coming to the brushes, I might use these brushes. Okay, this is number 6 mop brush Raphael, number 2 mop brush, and these are synthetic round brushes, one medium and small kind of thing, and this is a natural hair, long hair round brush, and these are some small brushes, one liner brush and one another small brush. Okay, starting with the wash. So I will take out a little bit of very pale wash of yellow ochre, I mean not yellow ochre, raw sienna, very pale wash of raw sienna. Okay, and we'll try to make a sky wash for this. It looks yellow, but very yellowish, but once it dries it will be mostly whitish. It will dull very light. Okay. I think I need a touch of red to this, because it is little reddish if you really see. Okay. Now I'll be using little cobalt blue. It looks very much sharp blue, so I'm using a touch of burnt umber, cobalt blue. Okay, and I'll try to make it little watery. You may find it a lot of texture on the paper, but that is because I am applying it very quickly. Okay. I'm cleaning out the brush and then kind of merging it. Okay. Let us do a little bit of bleeding. I'm not worried about that. Now if you look at the land part of it, it is very much orangish. It is yellow ochre, and if you really carefully see, I find some kind of dirty touch, I mean muddy color to that. So I'm using little bit of burnt sienna to just check if this yellow ochre and little bit of burnt sienna, just to see if that works. It may work, I think. Okay. May not exactly work. Okay. But mostly. And as it, you may see that as it comes towards the foreground, it is little bit of greenish here, and here it is little bit reddish tints are there. Okay, so I'm using little bit of more of brown here. Okay, trying to get some of the colors. I'm used a little bit of red also, but I think it is too much of red. That much red is not there. We are doing little bit of over coloring, but I think it should all be, once it is dry, it should be reasonably okay. It should dry. Usually watercolor dries very light, so it should be okay. at this point it looks very bright in color. I'm making it fast and I'm applying some pressure to the brush, so you may see that my brush is sometimes de-shaping. That's okay. We need some more darker purplish tone here. I think this area is little violetish. I'll add little, oh, it is too much. Little bit of violetish tone here. That is actually, I think a lot of things will get clear when you make the shadows. But whatever you can get at this point, let us make some suggestions at this. We'll make it more suggestions as we define the shadows. Okay. And let us get maximum out of the wet on wet. So there is some kind of what do you call it as green tints here. So I am just trying to take a smaller mop brush, okay, and I am trying to take a little bit of green to this mix, maybe yellow ochre, and I'm just trying to suggest something very quickly here. Very light, in fact, hardly any color in the brush. Some of these are still white. I am leaving them white. Okay, some of this white stuff that you see here, if it is more you can cover it, but little bit is okay. I think we have got the colors pretty okay. I think here it is very artificially purplish, so I'm just making it little greenish brownish, leaf green. Okay, this looks artificially purplish. I think we'll have to, this area is really wet now. We can kind of wait until this gets dry, but there are other areas probably which is reasonably dry. We can try doing something there. So we can do something above horizon area, and I'm just sprinkling some water just to create some additional texture. That's it. Don't worry too much about that. Okay, now let us make the distant stuff here. It is really light, so clean the brush. Almost take this, whatever blue you have for the sky, add little bit of maybe violet. Little bit of violet I am adding to this. Okay, and just suggesting here to here. Okay, I think it is not fully dry. Some of this area the spread is happening, but it's okay. think this area is still, that could have been little softer. So I'm just trying to clean with a damp brush. I'm just trying to soften some of these edges. Okay. Because I don't want too much of details there. Some sprinkling here also can help. Right. Now we need the kind of foliages underneath the mountain area, but since this area is very wet now, we cannot touch. It will all get merged. So what you can do is, probably we can define the background trees a little bit. To define the background trees, what I will do is I'll take this kind of longer stranded brush, okay, because I wanted a lot of randomness there. So what I do is I take yellow ochre and whatever orange mix that we have here. I am taking that and I'm trying to suggest some strokes here. Okay, yellow ochre. Let us just do it with yellow ochre, and then we will later add some greenish tones also, so that you have some different shades. Okay, I am using this brush deliberately so that I shouldn't get control, because if you get control, you might end up having well-defined trees, which we don't want. Okay. Now we can use the same technique and probably go for bigger foliages, but I'll use slightly bigger brush, which I haven't mentioned in the list. It's again a round brush, natural hair kind of round brush, and we will use olive green to this, and we'll keep some of this top right side as the light area. So we'll suggest the darker area of the foliages, something like this. We'll just try to add some definition to the bottom left side, okay, so that it looks like if you look at the actual tree, it is much doesn't have too much of width. I think we have added some more kind of width to this. This is not in fact dark tones. The dark tones we'll have to add to get little bit more depth there. Same approach we'll go for the other tree also. Here there is some other tree. We'll go with the yellow ochre at the right side, yellow ochre without much of green there. Okay. It is not a big tree, in fact it's a smaller tree. Okay. And we'll go for darker greens at the left shadow side. There is something here. edges here. All just suggestions. Now we can, I think we can suggest the foliages here. We will make it little bluish in tint. We are using cobalt blue and little bit of violet to the kind of greens that we had. Maybe it is too cool, so little yellow ochre. See, we have to just judge the color, that's it. The bottom edge is little straight here. Okay. The top edge is merging. Okay. We don't have to define them precisely. Still wet, so I am using little darker tones so that once it is dry, it will dry much lighter. Okay, I think that's it there. Okay, now we'll have to think of larger foliages and the big trees, etc. So here it is coming down, so I'm just using my finger to smudge it. Okay. So let it be like that. Now since these things are not fully dry, and it will be little risky to define anything here because things are not dry enough. So the best what we can do here is, there are some darker volumes here, maybe we can define that. So that needs to be little darker color. So what I am using is, I am using olive green, okay, and I am mixing good amount of cobalt blue with that. Okay, cobalt blue I am using, and maybe a touch of burnt sienna just to make it reasonably dark. And I am finding it little difficult to really look at those. I mean, I understand the actual shape of it because it is behind the branches, so I'm not very sure, getting a clear idea if it is part of the foreground tree, these leaves are part of the foreground tree or something in the background. So I'm just assuming that it is from something from the background, and then I'm just trying to fill it. See, what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to make some kind of edge leaves, some leaf suggestion at the edge, and then I will use a larger wash using some of these lighter colors to fill the gap, so that it overall looks like a volume of trees. Okay. Variation of colors basically. See, all these things will start making sense when things are covered. Okay, I think we'll leave it this place and we'll wait until things get dry. Okay, I think we can give some kind of a sprinkling here onto this. It will all spread, I know, but okay. Let it dry for some, well, let us wait for some time to get it dry and then we'll do the rest. It's somewhat dry now. Okay, now we'll start the detailing phase. There are too much things to be defined. If you look at, there are some branches here and some branches here, and for this tree, and some suggestion for the fields here. Okay, then the fencings, and there are some suggestions. Then comes the main tree branch and the shadows, and finally the goats. I think that will be our approach. Now going for these smaller branches, we want some lighter brownish kind of. We'll not go for a tone. We'll not go for exactly the same tone that is there in the reference, because that is not necessary. We are trying to get some continuity here, trying to pay some amount of justification to what is there in the reference. Not exactly, because what is there in the reference, the foliages in the reference and the foliages here, they are not exactly the same thing. Okay, so we'll have to define some kind of a continuity here. There are some suggestion here which is merging with the fence and somewhat here. I'm just trying to suggest that also. So if sometimes when I focus more, I tend to go either silent or slow. So I will try to avoid that, but occasionally if that happens, please bear with me, because the focus goes more into maybe the drawing. See, with brush also what we do is drawing only. Okay, we are kind of some lighter tone. These branches are little lighter in tone. Okay. Some of this will get covered by the foreground, the branches that will come later. So we don't have to really worry too much. Okay, and we'll now go for the branches for this. Don't have to be precise. Okay, because whatever is there in the background, you should really paint with the understanding that they are in the background. Okay, if you don't go with a lot of precision there. I'll go for this little round brush, and there are some kind of a branch there. We don't have to really worry too much about that. Now I'll use the smaller branches. I think it became a little darker. I think it's okay. I should have paid a little bit more attention to the tone. think it's okay. If you think it is too much dark, just take tissue and dull it little down, okay, before it dries. Okay. I think it's okay. It's not that dark now. Now comes these foliages, these fencings. I'm little not very sure how exactly I can do that. Maybe I will use the same small round brush, and it is little darker, so I will use burnt sienna and violet. Okay, maybe I'll just punish my brush little like this, and I'll just try to make some vertical marks. Some suggestion. See, the tips are little pointy, so I wanted to get some kind of a suggestion for that at the both end. Okay, at the bottom end also the tip is little pointed, so I'm using little thicker pigment, damaging the brush little bit and trying to make some sharp and it is dull at the far end, little dull at the far end. Okay. Not exactly going for the same color. Using with very light colors, these kind of strokes, so that it just suggests some kind of a just trying to see the low bottom edge of this. Some darker stuff, and I am trying to make some pointy strokes here. Take the longer brush because I am not getting the kind of edge here. I am not used to these kind of precise edges and all. I don't, for some reason, I don't enjoy those kind of approaches. I strongly believe in suggesting the things, impression sort of things. you really look at, there are a lot of white lines here. I think if you take some sharp object like the corner of this tube of color, etc., or some knife or something, I think you can make something. See, it is just some suggestion, okay? Don't make it very artificial looking. Some suggestion will do. Just using my finger to smudge some of this out. I think that's it. That will do. Okay. Right, now we'll have to go for, I think now the next thing that we can go for is the kind of shadows. Okay, so the shadows is really large here, so I would probably use my if not the biggest brush, I think the number 2 mop brush I'll use, and I'll use this mix itself. Okay, I will use this mix itself, and actually these shadows are of different colors. Okay, if you look at the field side, the shadow is little greenish in color, so I'll use somewhat some greenish color, and maybe I'll mix some violet to the greenish so that it is still greenish in nature. And this comes, see, this should also suggest the kind of terrain. The direction of the shadows will also define the kind of terrain. It is little down here. Shadows are usually all connected shapes. Usually you may not find a lot of what you call it as unconnected areas on the shadows. Isolated piece like this may not be there. It should all get somehow connected for the shadows. And now I think it is more of violetish tone coming. Maybe here it is little orangish violet also here, because see, I'm trying to copy the kind of colors that I am seeing on the ground. More of violetish shadow now. It is too much violet. I am not paying too much attention to these exact colors. I mean exact root or exact the exact way in which it is there in the reference, because you will not succeed if you really want to copy the exact shadow. Now it is larger shadow here, almost no gap. Okay, this here I think it is too much of identical gaps, which now if you really look at, there are some branches, shadows of the branches also, which is going and connecting to the branches, the shadows of the what do you call it as the leaves above. It's really difficult to get the exact shape of the shadows. Okay. We're just trying to pay some justification to the shadows. Okay. Now what I would do probably is just mix some more shadow tones, and I will just try to sprinkle it, but I have to protect this area because I don't want the sprinkle to fall there in that area. Some variation of colors. Okay, and some amount of even plain water sprinkling also can probably help. Okay. Some sharp edges I just wanted to avoid. Okay, let us see how does it come. Okay, let us get it dried up well, then we will see. Now I think there are certain things that we can do here. Okay, now I am taking a small brush, and if you look at it, is some dark greenish tone. So let us make some green, maybe still yellow. I will say it is not dark green, it is light greenish tone. So I am mixing some yellow ochre and green here, and just trying to make some quick. It should be quick. Okay, and kind of a dry brush work. You might end up, this paper is bulged a lot, so sometimes it is, I am touching the brush very hard and it is becoming very thick brushwork. But overall you should get some suggestion. That's it. I think we are done reasonably okay. Now we have to, I think we'll have to really wait until to make the gods and all those things, we'll have to wait until this is dry. But for the rest of the things, I think we can do the thicker branches, etc. we can do now. Okay. For the thicker branch, yeah, you need thicker pigment, thicker color mixes. Okay, what kind of color we will use? It is, I find it as, see, I don't usually try for exact colors. I tend to look at the tones. Okay, now I think there are some, here we have already made some pencil marks, so I think let us make use of that marks. Let us make some of those pencil marks. and this should continue now. Okay. There are something, so we don't have to exactly respect that one, but I think it is a good approach if we can do some kind of just respect to the original stuff. Okay. Now it is all thicker ones. Maybe here also there is some branch going here. We'll make it with a darker one. I think now everything needs to be very dark. To make it darker, probably I will use Prussian blue. Okay, Prussian blue, and I'll make, what is this? Crimson Lake. Prussian blue. Some more Prussian blue. It is looking very violetish. Okay. Now I think to make it little justifiable, I'll use a little bit of green also. I don't know. I just followed my impulse, that's it. Now here comes you cannot see exactly this much there. The branches cannot be seen there in the reference. Since we have made the drawing little off, I let you now suggest. Okay. I think it would be good if we can make some thicker brownish in here, just for some variation. Okay, see, I always prefer some color variation. If you ask me why this, I may not have a proper answer. I just like it that way, that's it. And you can follow your impulses, okay? So this looks to be a little too dark for me now. I'm mixing some brown, burnt and sienna to that. Now we can make a little bit of darker color. A lot of dark stuff there. You don't have to exactly follow the brand there. You can just follow your impulse, okay? Some leaves also will come here, okay? Some leaves will come here. Now this is, I'm not talking because I'm just trying to get some branches out there. Okay. It is just, you can just watch me doing, and you can do it in your own way. here. Oh, it cannot end abruptly, so you need to have some kind of a continuity for this one. It should not overpower this also, so I am just taking it little up and then kind of okay. Now I think this part is somewhat done. There is a dark thing that is coming from here. Okay. I'm making it a little darker. It is coming from here. It is breaking the sky basically. I think that's it there, and just I think it is better we suggest some leaves for some of these branches. Sometimes it looks good to suggest something, just not just branches. Okay. Here also it is better to make some branches, some leaves. Don't have to be very precise. Okay. I think that's it for those things. Now the main thing that is left out is the goats. Okay. I think there are some darker touches required here, which is something on the ground. cannot be very plain like this. There should be some texture or something on the ground. It cannot be very flat. Okay. Now I think we can start making those gods. I think there is a big branch here, something coming here. I don't know whether I should make it. I will not make it. Now let us make the gods. See, making the gods is little tricky. I really do not know how to do that. If you look at those gods are really dark. Okay, we'll have to make some dark tones. Prussian blue and what is that? Crimson lake. I'm mixing. So now the important thing is we have to get it right. That is the main problem. Okay, so we have to get it right. So we'll have to see either what we do is draw it properly and then make it, but otherwise what you do is just follow the big shapes and then do it. Okay, so I'm just trying to do that. Maybe it is having a what do you call it, how to make it, and some big body. Okay, now then neck and kind of a triangular shape. Okay, and there is some, see, we are getting kind of silhouette only, we are not getting our actual. I'm just trying to get the shape of one right, then probably hopefully we should get the rest. Okay, I think I got it somewhat representative. Just representation will do. Okay, now since we have this shape, we have some kind of a reference for, see, now the other thing is we need to give the shadow. So we'll give the shadow for this. It is already in the shadow, but since it is very dark, it looks like it is kind of floating. So we need to give some more suggestions for this. We'll make some more gods of doing this same kind of an action. Okay. Don't need exactly the same exact action shape is not required. Now let us make some of the color different. See, some of them are very reddish, brownish color. Okay, so let us make those kind also. I'm here. I don't have much thing to talk here. I'm just looking at the shape of those things and trying to get my shapes a little convincing. That's it. Okay. Nobody will really look at each and every. Nobody will really look at each and every. Got of yourself and then see if they have come up really well or not. Okay, so it's all little bit of suggestion should be fine. I'm also extracting some white because some of these gods has some white accents. Okay, so I'm also touching some whites. Some of these has white accents. Now there are too many of them. I don't know whether we need to make that much. Okay, so I think let us make something on the field also. And if you look at them, they are much smaller in size. Okay. Now for this also, it is very dark at the shadow area. Those are really tiny ones. Really finding it difficult to get the shapes right. Now my brush doesn't work that tiny. And further, due to the way the camera is set up, it is little bit of blocking my angles. I think it went too wide there, but it's okay because of that being very tiny. I find it a little difficult to get the shapes right. Okay. I think that is sufficient. We don't need too much of them. Okay. Some of them are near the shadow also. Some of them are near the shadow here. Just trying to do it from my basic understanding of the shape. That's okay. Didn't work out well, but I think it's okay. I think this area it is okay. I'll do some kind of merging here. Yes, it is. Okay. Now I think we are done pretty much. Okay, some kind of a shadow is required because they all should be appearing that they are connected to the ground kind of thing. Though it is already in a shadow area, but that shadows are not enough popping because it dried very dull. These are just so that they hook up to the ground properly, that's it. Okay, I think we are done pretty much okay with all the goats. Okay, now what is left? I think what is left is very minor highlights, maybe with white. I'll take some pure white color and I'll just try to highlight some of these gods. So that they just pop up. Okay, don't have to be very. This is almost white, you can assume. I think that's it. I don't know whether some white marks are required for here or not. Okay, I think that's it for this the details. I'll just make the signature maybe here, and then we'll call it up as done. What color we should use for the signature? I think I'll use some dark color. Use some dark color here so that there is some kind of a justification in terms of balancing. That's it. I think we'll call it as finished. So our objective was just to take the essential elements from the reference and try to get inspired from there and then do it or narrate the scene in our own way. Okay, so I think this some highlight here would have been better. This is some not an ideal way of doing some white and orange thick stuff, just so that the things get little defined here. Okay, only that much. Okay, I think that's it. We'll take out the tape now. Alright, I think we have done a reasonable amount of justice to this work. Okay, so let us now see it a little closer. That's it. I think this has come out pretty okay, and it is paying justice to the reference. Hope you have understood how to handle these kind of subjects, so you can keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.